Good morning, Wednesday, April 27th, 90 days out to Tuesday, July 26th. For the guys in Chelmsford, it's Philip Johnson's birthday. I always have, this is the piece of me, I remember birthdays from my childhood friends, and the other day we were talking to Robert, and he was talking about his being earlier, I thought he was June, but he's July, and I was like, oh, I thought you were the same as Philip Johnson, which is today. Everybody's like, who's Philip Johnson? Great question. It'll be on a quiz later, maybe. So as we roll through the schedule, in about 20 minutes, you're getting started for, there's a 3 CEU class, Continuing Education Units. CEU class at the York Library, all about septic systems. You can jump over there for that. I think you probably need to be registered. Maybe they're taking walk-ups. You can absolutely check in with Virginia and see if there's still room. And here comes more of my foolishness with numbers. 603-834-5252. VKF's phone number. Oh, yeah. Right?
Wow.
Boom. Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah. I read it off to her the other day. She's like, how do you remember that? I'm like, I don't know.
Dude, it's funny because back in the day, I know my so I grew up in Mass too, right? So
yeah, kid.
897-5950, right? 897-4227. That was my grandmother, who's been passed away since 1989. Yeah. But I can't tell you your number. I can't tell you Nate's. I know it's in this thing.
Well, I have yours memorized because I give it out too much, and I love you for that. Yeah, if I go back to foolishness, and we're talking landlines, right? Do you have a landline at your current brick and mortar? We have one because we've always felt the need. Well, I guess our biggest thing, or we sort of fell on the nerve, with Cameron, with his juvenile diabetes and his autism, we want the school to be able to, we don't ever want any concern that there's no landline. So, and because I guess I'm just wired that way in old school, so we've always had a landline. We still do in Straftopia. Growing up, we had our original phone number, which was, 508-256-4605. Yeah, 508, right? 508. 256-4605. That eventually became, wait for it, my mom's Mary Kay line. That became the makeup number. So because in 1980, she starts doing Mary Kay Cosmetics. And then we got, it might have gone from 508 to 978. And this is still technically the home phone. So now it's 978-250-1330.
Oh my God.
And then, because I had 2 older sisters, and my parents were so sick of having all these numbers, just having all this confusion between the Mary Kay line and the home phone, we got a children's line. That's what my dad called it. And that was originally, but I think it switched to 978-250-1406.
Oh my God! You didn't have the party line? Remember the party line? The half ring was you.
No.
The
Dude,
full ring was your neighbor.
People in my neighborhood had that. It was just so weird because you pick up oh, sorry, Steve. What? No, I mean, I'm not judging. If people were doing party lines, that's fine. You know how many of our agents are what in the hell are they talking about right now? Yes, all these landlines. Anyway.
Hey, Timmy. 9.
Oh, I 1,000%. You know when I joke and you guys are saying something and I pretend to call Gary, I do want to get a red candlestick phone. And you'd hold it by the candlestick and you'd put the ear cup up. Gramercy 865. Yeah, I'm going to get a red candlestick phone, and because I've got some time at some point to go on Etsy and find one, or eBay, or both. Anyway, the rest of the morning, we are not doing Massachusetts. That is every other week. So this week we have 10 o'clock Maine, 11 o'clock New Hampshire. We're going to talk to Dr. Westcott in a second about what might be the soup of the day for that. And then at 12 o'clock, once a month, we're going to endeavor to do some sort of a panel and bring on a group of our experts. And the group we have today is we've got somebody in her freshman year, Savannah Horn, all the way out to somebody who has been knee-deep in real estate for years. But we got together a bunch of people. I reached out to some rainmakers and said, hey, I'm thinking off the top of my head, the person who is crushing it with customer service with buyers is X, Y, or Z, and they would confirm, and then I would call that person. We put together, I do believe, I joked with Zoe yesterday, it's going to be like The View. It's me, and I think it's 8 ladies are joining me today to talk about what they're doing to serve their buyers at a higher level. What do we mean by that? What do we hear all the time, Jason? I'm working with a ton of buyers. Okay. I'll take that with a grain of salt. And there are a lot of people that are. Let's talk about what working with a buyer looks like. They have signed a buyer's agency agreement. They have committed to be employed to employ you. They have signed the New Hampshire Brokers Disclosure, or Form 3, and the agency agreement in Maine. And then above and beyond that, they have also provided you with proof of funds or pre-approval to show that they're real. And we're not saying they're not real, but this is all in preparation to make sure that they are able to execute on a transaction. And then above and beyond that, in the Keller Williams General Disclosure, which is just have them sign that up front, because that is just a consumer awareness page that tells them all the things. There are things that we're making them aware of for them to do their due diligence. We are not doing Megan's Law for them. We're informing them they can perform their search. And we don't have time to get down that road today, but we're making sure we have all the paperwork in place. Now you have somebody who's actually a active signed buyer, not just an active buyer. And then above and beyond that, are they actively searching? Have you had a conversation with them? Do you truly know what they're looking for? And if all of that is in play, they should be motivated enough to have that conversation with Brad Kelly or their local lender. And above and beyond that, or provide proof of funds. Because we could, ultimately, it's not in your best interest. You could write an offer for somebody who's claiming to be your buyer, but there's no paperwork involved to actually legally tether you together. And then when you throw that on a kitchen table as an offer, and we're going to talk about this today at 12 o'clock. It's going to be simulcast over to Facebook Live. That's where you can find it today. Picture the seller, and we always have this conversation. Picture the seller on the other side of the kitchen table, and they're receiving these offers. And what are we seeing these days, Jason? We're seeing super clean, very few contingencies. Arguably, people are going in ahead of time over asking because it's so competitive. Yeah. We're seeing, and you know, they're fully funded or they're fully cash or they're a hybrid, but they've got all the commensurate paperwork to make sure that you know that they're real. Then there's your clients, not even your client. Then there's the human you're working with that you haven't signed paperwork with, who stapled to their offer that you took your time, right, uncommitted time with them to cobble together for them, with a note stapled to it from their mom that says, I'll talk to my lender Tuesday. And if I'm a seller, I'm like, okay, I mean, I appreciate that, but that doesn't feel real. These feel real. These feel commitment. We were talking the other day. Somebody mentioned the other day that they went. One of their. Oh, it was a friend of mine. I apologize. A friend of mine I was having dinner with last night. Sold up in Maine with our good friend Dr. Matea, and is buying down in South Kakalaka. And the guy from Florida, moving from Naples, Florida, putting the offer on his house in Maine, put $100 down in earnest money.
$100?
No.
Oh, 100 G units.
In earnest money, right?
Nice.
And Corey was like, at that point, Jeff was like, he's pretty serious. I'm like, yep,
Pretty
correct,
serious.
correct. So, you know, in the grand scheme of things, these are the things we want to put together. So when we question you, when you tell us that you're working with a bunch of buyers, how many of them are signed and committed to work with you? And are you working with them or are you waiting with them? And the reason we ask that, because so many people are just like, oh, well, we haven't seen anything come on the market yet. Why are you standing next to them waiting with them? You're both at the corner of, way and too late, waiting for a bus to show up that's not coming. Go get the listing they require rather than waiting for the other broker or the other agent across the street to bring it, because now you're going to march your kid across the street and negotiate your commission when you could run the entire conversation. And we talk about this quite a bit. I don't have the numbers in front of me right now. I'd love for some people to throw it in the chat if they have the time. What did we bring on today for new listings in Vermont, in Mass, in Maine, in New Hampshire? Because that's a sign to me that in the last handful of days, people were at kitchen tables talking to humans that do want to list. And here's our problem. This is one of the words I've cobbled together in the last 2 years in my boredom during COVID. This is what's so problematic about that. We typically carry more listings at our market center than the entire state of New Hampshire is currently carrying. And I pick on New Hampshire because we have our broadest agent base in New Hampshire, right? So,
it's now that you bring that up, Tim, New Hampshire had 996 listings because they're always a month behind, in February, according to New Hampshire Association of Realtors. The numbers come out on the 10th. We just did it the other day. I taught a class real quick on how to use that site. They're up to 1,300, which, yes, we typically carry over 1,000. So, the increase was 390 some odd listings, which and that number is 40%, right? So the listings are coming back on,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, and when you have buyers, the best script that you've always said is if you have buyers, that's your license to go fish.
Oh,
Right.
1,000%. Right.
Yeah. So if I'm shopping, for somebody that wants to live over by Blue Joe Mountain and I'm calling the Lindsays and I say, hey, listen, you say, I got nowhere to go. Well, that's my job is to find you where you want to go. You tell me where you want to go and I'll find you a house, or I'll try to find you a house. Right. That's a great script that you've always used. You when you have 30 buyers, you lead generation should be 10 hours a day, right? You should be hiring someone to write your emails and you should just be on the phone all day. Leverage everything else out and just be shopping because listings are starting to come back on.
Well, yes, and let's just say you've got 10 active signed buyers, and let's assume, because this is usually what's happening. For every one of your buyers, half of them probably have something to sell. Mm-hmm. And depending on where you are in your career, as we always say, Jason, when you're 5 to 7 years in, historically, organically, you're starting to get your people that you first worked with, and especially if you started as a freshman in real estate at a younger age, because your friends were buying their first place, they're coming back to make their first sale, right?
Yep.
So you're getting without a doubt probably 50% of your buyers have something to list. So now you have an opportunity to go create the listing. It's 3 transactions, right? Sell the house, maybe capture the unrepresented buyer on the listing you're going to sell for the Lindsays, and then help the Lindsays find their next one. And if you're advantageous, to Jason's point, what we always say is find out from Janina and Tim Lindsay what they're looking for and go door knock that property for them. The civilians think that they have to wait for the internet to tell them what's coming on the market. We get to tell them what's coming on the market. We get to make the market.
Yeah. Show your value.
Yeah, we want 123 Main Street. Well, I appreciate that. What about that house is intriguing, find out more about it. And then their biggest concern is, well, but it's not on the market, Timmy. Cool, that's where I come in, right? And I get to go knock that door. And to Jason's point, as we've always said, the initial pushback you're going to get, maybe they're going to say, no, that we're not looking to list because we just moved in or whatever. If they are, they're just like, well, here's our biggest concern. We were talking about it at Thanksgiving, at Christmas, at Easter. We're so concerned there's no place to go. I appreciate that, Mr. Lindsay. Feel, felt, found. Right? Feel, felt, found. I love this. It's empathy, authenticity, and logic. I understand how you feel, Mr. Lindsay. We've had a lot of clients that have felt the same way. And what we found is when we as a team go out and privately, and quietly door knock for our current clients, we're able to create that domino effect. So what I'm doing for the Lindsays, I'm going to do for you, Mr. D'Angelo, and moveon.org. And if we're having that conversation on a regular basis and creating the listings, you're going to hear me. I've already gotten away from it because I'm sick of people using this. It's another word that we've thrown out into civilianship, and they're running with it. Stop saying there's no inventory.
Yeah.
This is a French word, write it down. There's a shite ton of inventory. We have to drag it to the front of the driveway next to the mailbox and put a price tag on it. I always use this example. When you guys worked at Market Bucket, I was in Massachusetts, Jason, you'll love this. I was at Purity Supreme in high school.
Yes.
And if you worked at a supermarket before you closed at 9 o'clock, back when stores closed at 9 o'clock, everybody on staff was grabbing milk, the milk cases, the plastic milk, and flipping them over to stand on them to do what? To face the shelves. There's inventory on the back of those shelves. We have to make those listings.
Pull them forward.
There's inventory in every store, right? When you go into Best Buy, when you go into Magnolia, if you're feeling frisky, you're like, I want a 95-inch television. They're not all on the floor. There's a floor unit on the floor. And when you buy one, they don't give you that one. They go out back to the inventory and bring it to you. So stop saying there's no inventory. There's a ton of inventory. There are no listings. And that's not even a true statement. There are a lot of listings. They came on again today. And my biggest concern right now is for those of you that talk to your friends at Chicken Giving, Christmas, Hanukkah, Easter, Passover, and they're like, we're waiting for the market. If they become transactional, if they decide today's the day, and you warmed them up, it's always food, Jason. This is my pickle jar analogy. You spent all this time working on that pickle jar. And then they're like, well, we're really not ready. You're like, all right, I'll be back when you're ready. And you put down, what are your favorite pickles? The bread and butter ones? They're so good. Probably too sweet for you, though. Then some jabroni, some jackalope comes by. You've done all the work, and they're like, that's loud. And they pull the cap off. Yeah, and these people are like, wow, he's really strong. Timmy struggled with the pickle jar for 6 months. No, I was politely waiting and being obedient as your signed agent, which you weren't because you let them tell you we're going to do it later. If you walk up now and say, are you ready to list? Yeah. Thanks for talking to us for 6 months. We became transactional last night, and somebody called us out of the blue. And we talked to them. Because you didn't stay in touch. Because back in 1978, you asked if we wanted to list. You got to stay on your people. You got to be not pesky. You have to be consistent. Consistent. And when they tell you, call me in 3 months, call them in 2. Call me in 2 weeks, call them tomorrow. Call them tomorrow.
On Wednesday.
On Monday. Yeah, call them Wednesday. I love when we drop the A. We're going to the library on Monday. Yeah, you got to call them tomorrow. What do you, like, I don't know what we're all waiting for. And I say this with love. There's so much opportunity out there. We're not talking to our people. We're waiting for the market to invent itself. You guys are the market leaders. You're the number one brokerage in the state. You're one of the most powerful brokerages in New England. Gary refers to New England as a region as the Golden Triangle. You're the shiniest part. And if we sit back, we're giving permission to the rest of the industry to be like, well, KWCLM's not hustling. There must be nothing to do. So what do we say all the time, Jason? Go take your friggin' unfair share.
Yeah. Well, they say that you take market share in a down market, right? Now, when we say down market, everyone thinks recession. I don't know who it was, but somebody said that we're in a realtor recession, right? The economy is people are working, so it's not a true recession as we see it. Stock market's not crashed, but there are less inventory, so realtors are feeling it. Less sales is what they're saying, right? So this is the time now to go out and hustle. You'll build your business in a shifted market.
Yep.
So when the market does come back, you were the guy that went out and got me. I did not find my house on Zillow. Tim Lindsay called me up and said, I found these 3 listings. These 3 are coming on next week.
And that's, and such a great
That's
point.
what you want to be. You want to be that agent. You want to be the agent that's, well, how'd you find your house? Well, I found it on Zillow. I called my agent. We went and looked at it.
Because then you're a facilitator.
Yeah, exactly.
Honey, who was the guy that did the paperwork? I don't remember his name.
I never saw him. He used that dot loop thing.
Yeah.
It's funny and it's not. Because, I mean, we talk about this a lot at higher levels, leadership stuff, that I've been to, the Realtor Association, I went to Leadership Symposium, and we are losing that. We are losing the battle in real estate with the face-to-face personal side of this business. We're already, I will tell you right now, we're losing it in new construction. I've been pitching this now for 2 years. We will be out of the new construction game, I think, within 3 to 5 years as agents. It's going to be on-site salespeople, and we'll be out.
And you can change that today.
Absolutely.
Your conversations, your activities, who your allied resources are. Jason just talked about Shift. We talk about this book all the time, right alongside the Red Book, right alongside MREI, right alongside our good friend Michael Mayer, not John's father, who was in town last week, and the 7 levels of communication. When we talk about Shift, it is not an event. This is not a singular event. We are talking about Shift and the practices of real estate. And as I refer to the Red Book is the blueprint for the business. Shift is the playbook for the activities. So if you are constantly working with Shift, you keep this close at hand, this is going to allow you to insulate your business.
Yeah.
If you're running the plays from the playbook, from the daily playbook for the activities, and
Page
you're doing
71.
this on a regular basis, you will recognize the shift. You will not feel it. Because we talked about this, and Jason just referred to the fact that, and this is the quote that Gary always uses, and you'll hear Nathan say it, and you'll hear us say it all the time. What you gain during a shift, you will never relinquish, and what you relinquish during a shift, you will never regain. Okay? So when people say, well, hey, over the past couple of years, the tide was high, the rising tide lifts all boats. Correct. And the question is, when the water recedes, and the water is receding, when the water recedes, where will your boat be? Will you be out to sea because you actually moved away from shore? You actually moved and made progress while the water was rising? Or are you going to see that when the water recedes, you're on the rocks? A lot of agents are going to wake up on the rocks because there was no movement when they should have been pedaling, when they should have been going out to sea and setting sail. They stayed stagnant and they just enjoyed the gift of the market, which was the rising tide. So if we get back into the activities, you guys can single-handedly change this marketplace. If we wait for our friends across the street who aren't going to do it, they don't have the power to do it, they're not having the conversations like you guys are, and you guys are having conversations, I would beg, if you look at your listing count, maybe you might not be having enough. And I can't point 740 fingers. I'm not pointing fingers. I'm not here to pick a fight. I'm here to ask you to look inward and say, did I have enough conversations yesterday? Did I talk to the people that I know and love and trust that are in my life that I know are homeowners? Did I offer them an equity update? Right, which I call the Trojan horse listing appointment, right? Because at the end of that conversation on Zoom or at their kitchen table, there's typically one of four outcomes. No, thank you, Timmy. Thanks for the information. I appreciate that, Babs. Can you share this with your friends? Who else do you know that I should know that would appreciate this intel on their home? That's one outcome. Or, crap, really, that's the equity we grabbed in the last handful of years. We do want to list. Or we want to refi. And this whole conversation about, well, nobody's refining now, rates are going up. You don't know where they grabbed their house and what their rates were when they grabbed their house. Have they built equity? Have they improved their credit score? Could they qualify for a decimal point change, which will be hundreds over the month, and then across the entire mortgage or refi, it could be a huge savings for them. What life changes have they gone through that they could use? Could anybody on the call use a few more dollars today?
Yes.
If you bought caffeine in America or gas in America, fuel for you or fuel for your car, you could use a shekel or two, I trust. And then above and beyond that, maybe you're gonna do an equity pull and put on the deck, throw in the pool. I don't know, and you don't know. Said with love, we don't know what they're thinking. We don't know what they require for help until we call and check in with them. So doing that equity update is wildly important. Today at noon, we're going to have that conversation where last month we talked to a lot of our listing specialists about creating seller confidence. We're going to talk about keeping buy-in with your buyers. How are you staying engaged? How are you winning the day for them? To Jason's point, don't be the facilitator. When it gets to this Christmas, this Hanukkah, and they have got all their family over at the house. This is beautiful, Jason. How did you find this? Hey, honey, how did we find this house? You don't want your client to yell from the kitchen across a crowded house, we found it on Billo. You want them to say, oh my God, Timmy helped us find it. He's going to be here with his wife in an hour. And then you walk in the victor because everybody in that house wants to meet you because you found them this house. You created the inventory. You created the listing. We're out of our minds right now if we're waiting for somebody else. Nobody else is coming to help. It's incumbent upon us to get this market moving. And a lot of you are doing a great job. And those people that are hustling are thinking, God, I could be doing more. And you're right. And if your current listing count is 0, we could probably be having more conversations. No judgment. We ask this at every training, right, Jason? You know what I'm about to ask. Does anybody currently have too much money in the bank? Never seen anybody raise a paw. Does anybody currently have too many listings? And if you're thinking, yeah, my team's feeling dangerous, and you know you have an inordinate amount of listings right now, I guarantee if you had a team meeting, the team would decide we could use a few more. A listed house in America right now is like a Lay's potato chip. There's not enough, and there's a lot of fat kids, right? Go get more. For the love of God. Jason, what are we going to talk about in contracts today? What do you think is the soup of the day for Maine and
Last week we went over property disclosures in New Hampshire. So this week we're going to be we're trying to pick some issues. Right now we have escrow, and we're going to be definitely talking about the appraisals and the section of the financing contingency section of the purchase and sale agreement in New Hampshire. Maine, they're going to be continue reviewing the purchase and sale agreement. I think they're on page 2 or 3 of that, is where Karen left off last week.
Perfect. Later on this afternoon, too, at 1 o'clock today on KW Connect, you've got why a focus on fair housing is crucial for your business, and because it is Fair Housing Month, and then above and beyond that, for Keller Williams New England, click the link in the news. It's going to take you to the Millionaire Real Estate Agent Series that's being conducted by all of our team leaders here in New England, the Golden Triangle, as Gary refers to us. So lock and load and all that stuff. Tomorrow, Babs is hosting the KWikStart. She's going to talk to some of our teammates who are commandeering Red Day for us to continue that Red Day discussion. Thursday, May 12th, a couple weeks away. Make sure you rope off that day. Are you bringing the front-end loader, Dr. Westcott?
I have not been requested.
It's one of those events, though. Like while I was fighting, and nobody should be shocked by this, 2 things. I may have ordered a hard hat, and it may be a color that everybody would be like, that's appropriate. So there's a hard hat coming. Well, the supply chain is down, so I don't know if it'll make it in time, but I hope it does. And I've been lobbying for a long time. I want to do beach cleanup.
Yes. Windex a chicken.
Yeah, like grab some Windex, grab a sea chicken, squirt, clean, put it down, pick up 2 or 3 straws, and let's go drinking. I failed again. Nobody listens to me. That's fine. So we are going over to Portsmouth campus. We are going to be working on that mile-long path and trimming stuff back and making it beautiful. There's a Zen garden as well. There's some other ancillary jobs. The more hands we have on deck, the more we can get done, and the faster we can get it done. So please join us for that on May 12th. Babs will be here tomorrow to talk about that. Then golf is coming up just next Wednesday. On May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. May the course be with you. That is taking place at the Links at Outlook. Nathan Dickey is throwing together the second annual, because we've taken a 2-year hiatus because of COVID. That is the second annual KWCLM Classic. All of the profitability is going to KW Cares. So if you can lean into that, there's details in the news. Scroll down for that. And on Friday, one of our dear friends who's involved with hard money lending. What in the hell is that? We're going to find out and talk to Brian Joyce about that on Friday.
Oh, nice.
And he is also infamous. We're going to probably talk about this. He's the kid. He's so much like Brad because he's tall and he's good at golf. I won't give Brad that much credit. Brian's tall and good at golf. Brad's just tall. He's actually pretty good at golf, too. He has honed in on the Happy Gilmore swing. If you've ever seen Brad Kelly do the Happy Gilmore swing, he's a hockey player like you are, so he's pretty good at it. Brian Joyce is the guy that when you're golfing with him, every time you get in your cart, you have to check your bag. He's the guy that unstraps your bag. So when you pull away, it falls off. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Let's pick on Lindsay, and then they're all laughing and I'm picking up my clubs. And so
you're watching $2,000 hit the ground.
If Brian Joyce is behind you at the event, you have to check your clubs incessantly. Just a fair warning. But we'll talk about hard money lending, what he offers. I do love making fun of him. I'll do it now, and I'll let him explain what it is. His company name is, or the acronym is MCAP. And the first time I walked by and saw MCAP, because I didn't know what that meant in real time, I knocked on his door, and I'm like, new name? He's like, yeah. I'm like, can I guess? He's like, okay. And I'm like, eventually making cash available, probably. And he's like, close. So he'll tell us the real name of his company. That's on Friday. We'll talk about charity golf, hard money lending with the great Brian Joyce. That's this coming Friday. We'll see you guys in and around the Market Center. If you're looking for your brokers, join us on Keller TV at the 10 o'clocks and the 11 o'clocks for Maines and New Hampshire's. Please join us for that. And, of course, if you do need Jason, you've got a question, comment, or concern, or you're being chased by the authorities, it's 603-234-2589. Hopefully you're not. Somebody like a new agent, Jason, was like, what's E&O? I'm like, it's for errors and omissions. It's for paperwork issues. It's if it involves Concord. If you kill somebody, we probably can put you in touch with the right lawyer, but it doesn't cover that. Yes. Yeah. It's once you get into the felony circle, it sort of leaves the errors and omissions. But anyway. So you've got Jason's number. If you need my face, it is meetwithcoach.com or 603-834-2856. If you want to call my mom, it's 978-250-1330. Timothy, some people from the Market Center were giving me a call.
On Wednesday.
They're trying to set up coaching with Cheryl. I should absolutely do that. Can you imagine?
That's getting bought. That domain name's getting bought.
I got to go to GoDaddy right now. I got to order that and my hard hat. We'll see you in and around the Market Center. Have a great day, guys.